To live is to suffer.
Never be afraid to call the protagonist of a corrupted world corrupted, and never be afraid to call him evil in an evil world. The most popular manga of Kentaro Miura is named after a frequent state of being of its protagonist, Guts. Berserk means to be in a state of wrathful frenzy, and as the manga proceeds, Guts finds himself more and more in that position, even to the point where he could be swallowed up by the Berserker armor, which is the highest definition of rage. Wrath is described as a sin in many of the world's religions for a reason. It is one of the 7 deadly sins of Christianity, which goes against the teachings of Christ, such as compassion, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism sees it as one of the 3 emotions next to greed and ignorance that is so poisonous that it keeps beings in the cycle of suffering and rebirth. And Hinduism considers anger to be a negative emotion that leads to one's downfall and is thus one of the enemies of the mind and a distractor from the path of liberation. Miura was quoted with saying, "Guts is born out of the idea of struggling against a harsh fate and finding meaning in that struggle." For me personally, the words struggle, harsh fate, and meaning remind me of a very significant book of our times, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist that survived the camps of the Holocaust. To lose all your family and friends for some higher purpose that is nothing but gruesome and evil, and to be branded as an outcast both psychologically and physically, is something that Guts and Frankl have in common. Let's focus on the absurdity of life. Can I blame Guts for his internal reaction of hatred towards his circumstances? No, I can't say so. Yet should I ignore the dirt that is found underneath the roots of the tree? Shall we say that we find it acceptable to kill on the battlefield because it is common? And let's also say that the coldness towards killing you develop as a consequence is excusable. But when does it get too heavy on the consciousness and too morally ambiguous? After the murder of a child or the attempted sexual violation of your woman? Or maybe quite after the close murder of another child, just for the ultimatum of reaching your goals? When do we stop as humans and say, that is evil? Berserk's world is purposefully designed to exercise the willpower of its protagonists through the heavy prevalence of gore, malevolence, fear, and disorder. That is the case, so much so that meaning, as we know it, starts to appear vaguely and distantly. When a pack of wolves crushes the neck of a deer, you shouldn't be the only one standing aside and watching. It's bad camaraderie. But before we get further into the video, please consider subscribing if you want to see similar content. The manga tussles with the question of godlessness in a very Nietzschean and existential way. Whereas people of the past believed in a benevolent God, today we don't have a similar belief and philosophy. Berserk is the edge of that world where God is evil and you are left alone to cope with the world individually. That is a dangerous endeavor for several reasons. Firstly, can you trust yourself to do good when necessary? Secondly, can you withstand life's suffering? Thirdly, can you find meaning in a seemingly random world? And then, can you uphold a good character for life? The murder of others because of heightened sense of power, such as in the case of Guts and his superior physique, sword and battle prowess, is something that leads you to believe that you are the god of man. It's not a coincidence that Griffith and Guts are so alike, and yet polar opposites at the same time, because albeit more pronounced in Griffith, they felt entitled to be forces to be reckoned with. And then evil and sin caught up with them, as they were no gods, but mere mortals. Pride killed the body and spirit of Griffith, whilst wrath burned Guts' being to cinder. Hence the ashy hair after the intense use of the Berserker armor. Berserk offers its characters choices with the apparent prerequisite that life is predestined, because of your own inborn traits and personalities. Thus Griffith gives into causality. Guts, on the other hand, does the most admirable, resists fate. However, he chooses his life's meaning to be revenge after the eclipse, something that pushed the scales more in the direction of a personal hell. Guts was locking himself in even tighter chains and strays away from liberation. Can one really defy fate? It seems that Guts is following the path that was meant for him by the ultimate entity, Kentaro Miura, and his work titled Berserk. Guts is literally being pinned down and held by the Berserker armor that demands his life's essence and body in turn for power. Guts is evil to the core. Despite all the good that he started aiming at, such as the protection of Casca, peace and acceptance, friendship and tranquility, he will bear the mark of malevolence to the end of the world. The tree that would grow to heaven must send its roots to hell. I know that concept is hard to understand, that people are rarely just evil or just good. In theory, we are either the children of God or the demons of Lucifer. Yet, in its true essence and form, humans are both in the image of God and carry the sins of the devil. To go back to Franco, meaning is something crucial to this life. What is the meaning of being evil? What is the meaning of anything at all? Lest we find that meaning for ourselves, we grow hopeless and desperate. Similar to the dead Guts, the no-smile, hatred-ridden Guts, the lonesome and scared Guts. With meaning, evil can turn to good, and with that, it turns us into humans, both in the image of God and the devil.